Yeah, let me get Dana to start. Dana, if you don't mind starting the recording on Teams, we'll get started here. I am. Does it look like we're recording? Bob, can you tell if Teams is recording? There we go.
It started.
Thank you, Dana. Good morning. Today is Monday, February the 24th. It is 10:30 in the morning. This is our regularly scheduled Tennessee Auctioneer Commission meeting. My name is Roxana Gamusio. I'm the Executive Director with the Auctioneer Commission. I'd like to welcome everyone, and as first order of business, I will do roll call vote to make sure that we have quorum. Members, when I read your name, if you could please let me know that you are here. Mr. Ed Knight is not here with us today. Jeff Morris?
Here.
Thank you. Dwayne Rogers?
Here.
Thank you. And Jay White? Here. Thank you. And we have Mr. Larry Sims on the call. He knew that we'd have quorum in person, which is how we need to proceed. So he was just going to listen in to the conversations today in case he had anything. So Chairman Morris, I'll turn it over to you. And if not, I can continue, whatever you prefer, sir.
You're doing such a good job. Would you just continue for me?
Absolutely, sir. Notice of this meeting was put on the Commission's website since May 31st of 2024. Along with the notice, we've updated the agenda after February 17th. The meeting is been moved to 10:30 due to a conflict that Anna and I had, and so and we can discuss the possibility of moving maybe future meetings as well toward the end, but proper notice of this meeting has been placed on the website. Along with that, we always want to give members that are participating either in person or through our Teams recording, give them an opportunity to ask any questions, anything from the agenda that they want to discuss. We will open up that time when we get to new business at the end, but I just wanted to point out that piece. And as first order of business, we would need to approve the agenda. The members had that emailed to you beforehand. If there's anything that you want to update, we can do that. Otherwise, I would need a motion and a second to approve the agenda.
Chair will listen to a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion's approved.
Thank you. We had a motion by Jay White and a second by Dwayne Rogers to approve. The next order of business is the approval of our minutes. This would be the November 18, 2024 minutes. If there are any changes, members, let me know. Otherwise, we would need a motion and a second to approve them as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Been moved.
I'll second.
Been seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next order of business is the education report. Members, that is on your iPads, starting on page 8. This was also emailed to everyone. There are 3 different courses that you're reviewing and considering today. First is a 16-hour bid caller qualified education course, and this is offered classroom style by Kentucky Auction Academy. The next item after that, and we can motion on these separately if you like, but given that it's the same company, the next document after that is a 50-hour affiliate auctioneer, also qualified education course, also offered classroom style. And then the last item that they are requesting is for continuing education, offered classroom style as well. And again, all 3 of these are being requested by Kentucky Auction Academy. I will turn it over to you, Chairman Morris.
Let's give us a chance for everybody to kind of take a quick review of these documents as they've come through. Just in my first blush, it seems like these guys are well-equipped and knowledgeable enough to conduct such a education course. And this would be for, it says Kentucky Auction Academy, but it's for Tennessee education. Is that correct?
That is correct. It would be our education. Yes, sir.
Okay. And Bob, I think you had some correspondence back and forth with them.
I did, and they are also a current vendor. This is just another one that we found that we didn't have all the paperwork on file, so we're making sure we've got it all in file.
Perfect. I appreciate you working on this and keep staying on top of all these things for us, keep us up to stuff. Is there any discussion? The chair would listen to a motion if someone would like to make one.
I'll make that motion to accept.
Motion been made. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
And second by Jay. All those in favor of approving these 3 courses, please say aye.
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 It's been approved.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and I will take the motion for all three of these, approving each of them. I appreciate that very much. Under our director's report, we'll start with our first order of business. This is our first commission meeting for 2025. The first item would be for the commission to approve following and conducting their meetings by following Robert's Rules of Order. We have our wonderful attorney, Anna Matlock, here if you would like a recap of how that works. But this is something that we vote on each year. If there are no questions, we would need a motion and a second to state on the record that we conduct our meetings following Robert's Rules of Order.
I'll make a motion, we do that.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
There's been second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's been approved.
Thank you. Next item again, first meeting of the year. This is to elect a chair and vice chair for 2025 for the remaining meetings that we have going forward. I will entertain a nomination if you want for one or both, and then we can vote on them.
I would like to nominate Jay White to be the chairman next year.
I'll second that.
So it's been, a motion's been made and second. All in favor of Jay being chairman, say aye. Aye. All right, there you go.
Thank you. That was easy. All right, what about our vice chair? Any nominations?
I'd like to make a motion for Jeff Morris to be vice chair.
I will second that motion.
All right, motion been made and seconded that I be vice chair next year. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That's been approved as well.
Thank you. Okay.
We're a contentious bunch.
Yes, you are. We're moving right along. I love it. The next item of business is to review our budget report. That is on your iPads on page 54. And I am happy to kind of go over that briefly. As you know, this is an informational piece. The numbers are through December 2024 only, but they do reflect a deficit of $1,789. That's pretty close. Nevertheless, it is a deficit. It brings the balance at $515,776. Our educational fund, I didn't provide here, but it's at about $172,000, so we're still over the 150. But as we've discussed, we've seen just a slight decrease in licensing, nothing to be concerned about. We're watching any of our expenses with the educational closely as well. If you have any questions regarding the budget, happy to entertain, but that piece is informational for you.
I would just make the comment that based on how the economy is going and the changes with all the licenses and everything, y'all done a pretty good job of keeping it that close. So hopefully we'll make a couple of changes that'll even reduce some of that cost even more here in a minute.
Thank you very much. I agree. That is one of the pluses to centralizing our labor the way we do in our staff. So I appreciate that and everything you all do. Next, we have our legal report, so I will be happy to turn it over to Kim Cooper to go over it, and that starts on page 56 of your iPads, and that redacted version was also emailed to everyone on the board. Kim, it's all yours.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm just going to go ahead and take these in order for new complaints. Number one on the legal report, we had a complaint that I responded, which is primarily an estate sale company, was now advertising that they would be conducting auctions. The complainant did provide a screenshot of an advertised auction that said you can bid online for cars by text or phone or in person. There was not a date that I could see, that I recall anyway, on that advertisement. I could not determine who specifically was the auctioneer, or licensed or unlicensed, that would have been conducting these auctions. And it was, the advertisement seemed to be a little bit older because all I could find recently on social media was estate sale advertisements. So I recommended to close and flag. If we get additional information where I can identify a specific auctioneer or unlicensed individual, then I would move forward at that point and ask for you to reopen.
The only comment I would make about that is
Yes, sir.
Because we were in this limbo for several years, everybody kind of took advantage of that situation and did a lot of online stuff.
Yes, sir.
And because we weren't able to do anything about it, they thought it was kind of like we can do whatever we want to do. And so, and I do see some people that are trying to act like auctioneers and do things like an auctioneer, but not be an auctioneer.
Yes, sir.
And there's a lot of that going on, and I think we need to be diligent in our observances. And I know down in my area, we don't have that many people to look, but Middle Tennessee has it, and East Tennessee has people, plenty of people to look up there. But we do need to be on the lookout for that kind of thing. I mean, I even saw a clothing store in my area where they were doing a Thursday night auction, quote unquote. You know, I don't know if they were doing it through Facebook or how they were doing it, you know, but it seems to me that the lines have been blurred a little bit, and we need to clean them up a little bit if we can.
Yes, sir. Did you want to take these individually or vote at the end?
Yeah, I mean, I would move that we accept your recommendation on this one. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by me and seconded by Jay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The next matter on your report, the complainant alleged that they were searching an auction website for commercial properties and found an auction conducted by the respondent, who is a licensed real estate broker but does not have an auctioneer license. The respondent, through their attorney, confirmed that they are a listing agent for the property, and their client decided to sell the property through an online auction. Respondent contracted with a third-party company to auction the property through their online platform. All aspects of the online auction, and getting back to what you were just talking about, Commissioner Morris, is that people need to be more aware, and like I said, this attorney, they did consult with them to make sure that they were within the lines. All aspects of the online auction were handled exclusively by that third party. The respondent would not be conducting the auction. This third party would be, it was a timed listing auction without the option to extend based on bidding activity, and would be completed online exclusively with no simulcast of any live auction. And because of those factors, it does appear that they are exempt pursuant to Tennessee Code annotated 6219-102A2 and Tennessee Code annotated 6219-103-9. And so my recommendation was to dismiss.
Any discussion?
I'll make the motion to dismiss, to take staff's recommendation.
All right, motion been made by Jay White,
I'll second that.
seconded by Dwayne Rogers. And all in favor say aye.
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 The third matter before you, a complainant alleged that an unlicensed respondent who was previously licensed but had an expired license, an unlicensed respondent was conducting online auctions without a valid license. The respondent did acknowledge that they had been conducting online auctions, but that consistent with the commission's interpretation announcement at the November meeting, that they would be in compliance with 6219-103-9, in that all online auctions moving forward would be conducted with time listings without the option to extend based on bidding activity pursuant to Tennessee Code annotated, as I said, 6219-103-9. I felt the recommendation here would be most appropriate to dismiss because we had that gray area prior to November where we made it very clear we were moving forward in compliance with Tennessee law, and so that would be the most appropriate at this point for this matter would be to dismiss.
Well, I say just watch that guy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to take staff recommendations.
Motion been made by Jay White,
I'll second that.
seconded by Dwayne Rogers. All in favor say aye.
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 And then we have some re-presentments in light of, again, the announcement at the November meeting. This was a 2023 case where a complainant participated in an online auction and placed a bid for a heavy equipment trailer. Complainant alleged that each time they attempted to place a max bid on the trailer, that they would receive a message that they were outbid. They stated that they eventually received a message after the auction closed that they were the highest bidder, even though they had stopped bidding during the auction, after yet again being told that they had been outbid, and the complainant alleged that fraud and bid manipulation. The respondent stated that the seller, their client, had multiple items in the auction, and the reserve was placed into the system by the staff. Complainant was shown as outbid since the reserve was not met, and that the seller then decided that they would sell for the amount that the complainant had bid, so the reserve was removed at the seller's request. No additional bids were placed, and the complainant was awarded as the winner of the bid. Respondent contacted the website that hosted the auction because of complainant's allegations. It was a third-party website that was hosting. The respondent themselves took the initiative to contact the host of the auction and ask if there was a record of the progression of the bids, the bidder name, amounts of, and total number of times bid. The host company explained that they do not record the the progression of bids, but that they did have a seller check-in sheet documenting the initial reserve, the terms of the auction, and a copy of the history of bids on the equipment that the complainant had bid on. And based on all of that information provided by the respondent, I just didn't believe that there was sufficient proof of fraud or unprofessional conduct by the respondent. The initial recommendation was litigation monitoring, and but the new recommendation, because of the primarily online activity or matter of the complaint initially, I said litigation monitoring. But based on the information that I have, my new recommendation would be to dismiss.
Yeah, this is a very gray case. There's been complaints in several states about auctioneers that will see what the max bid is that somebody has, and they'll bid up, hoping they'll bid again, and are running the bid up to their max bid. And so this is, you know, you hope that they're not going to be unscrupulous and do those kind of things, but we do know that it happens. If it had a reserve, you know, and I understand that unless it says absolute, then it is with reserve, no matter what it is, unless you make the statement that all items are absolute. So that's one of the things that I guess if we have non-auctioneer people listening to what we're doing, that they need to pay attention to that. That by law, that if it doesn't say absolute or no reserve, then it has a reserve. I mean, that whether it be a personal property or real estate, it doesn't matter. But I think auctioneers need to be a little bit more clear when they're doing these online bids that you know, that it is with reserve, and that the seller has the right or to accept or reject any high bid if it doesn't meet the reserve. So
Yes, sir.
I would agree with what you recommended here, and I wouldn't change that. But so I would make that in form of a motion.
I'll second.
Been seconded by Jay. All in favor say aye. Aye. You follow what I'm saying there?
And I appreciate that information as well. I'm new to it also, and so I'm learning more every day, so thank you, sir. The next matter on the report was that a complainant alleged that an unlicensed respondent was conducting auctions every Saturday and streaming the auctions live on social media, that they were taking bids both in person and through the live stream on Facebook. At the time that this complaint came in, it was back in mid-2024, and the respondent, I could find recent auctions on their personal Facebook page. The respondent did not reply to the complaint, but due to the primarily online portion of the activity, I recommended litigation monitoring at the time. My new recommendation is based on the fact that respondent, as recently as last weekend that I could find, continues to advertise and hold auctions that take online as well as in-person bids. And my recommendation is a $500 civil penalty for unlicensed activity, as well as an order to cease and desist until they are, if they can be, licensed.
Well, I would agree with that. I mean, if they're still doing it and they've been told not to do it, then they're just flying in the face. Again, they think we won't do anything. So what do you think, Jeff?
I'll make the motion for staff's recommendations.
I'll second that motion.
Been made and seconded to accept your recommendation for the $500 penalty. So the motion passes.
We need a vote. Is that a unanimous vote?
That's a unanimous
favor?
vote, yeah.
Thank you.
The next matter on the legal report, a complainant alleged that the respondent was allowing a bidder in an online absolute auction without reserve to bid in violation of Tennessee Rule 0160-01-.191. The bid history was provided, and one of the bidders did raise their own bid several times. It was anonymous, but there was a number that was attached to the bidder that you could see that they raised their own bid several times after bidding by others had slowed down for a few days, then ceased bidding. Excuse me, when the bids hit a specific amount, there was insufficient evidence of the identity of the bidder, and I don't believe that the respondent in this case, I should have mentioned that, responded on this matter. Because this was an online auction, I, at the time, recommended litigation monitoring. My new recommendation is to close and flag. I do want, if additional information becomes available regarding this incident, to be able to move forward, but at this time, I don't have that information, and so that's the closing.
So here's what you got to look out for, and there's several a handful of companies in the country that are doing this, and they're mostly luxury or high-end real estate properties.
Okay.
And they'll advertise an absolute auction. And it's absolute auction, absolute auction, absolute auction, they're all they're advertising. And they'll go right up until the day before the auction. And if they don't have a high enough bid, what they quote, open the bidding, they'll cancel the auction. And so it's not an absolute auction. They use that to try to get as many bidders as they can to get them to bid. And if they don't get a bid that would meet the reserve or within range of the reserve for the seller, then they just won't have the auction. So they've been having an auction before the auction, basically, is what they've been doing.
Right.
And so it's highly unscrupulous. It's false advertising at best. But I can point you to several companies that do that. And they do it all over the country. They do it here in Tennessee. They do it in Florida. They do it all over the place. But that is one of the games that are being played in these high-end luxury, quote-unquote, absolute auctions. So they just make you aware of that
Yes, sir.
as you're looking and seeing things. The fact that they had a bidder they couldn't find, give me a break.
Right. And not to get too far off to the field to discuss inside baseball perhaps, but you said they'll have an auction before the auction.
Well, it's not technically an auction,
Right.
but they're soliciting bids. If you are soliciting a bid, you're having an auction.
Right.
You know, they're trying to get everybody to make an opening bid, okay? They're trying to get all their, but, they'll court them and talk to them, what are you thinking? Would you start it off here? Say it's a $10 million property, we started at $9 million, we started at $8 million, rather than just letting them bid. And so it's not right the way they do it, but they've been doing it and getting away with it for a long, long time.
In your experience, once they've canceled the initial auction, are they then taking the sales offline? Or do
Oh,
you
yeah,
see
they
that they're
go completely dark. They're just gone. They've tried and, they get a big marketing fee up front from the seller to do all the work. And if it sells, it sells. If it don't, it don't. That's the way they look at it.
I appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
You bet. Jay, you know what I'm talking about.
He's very well spoken. You said that well. I mean, you explained it well. You explained it well. We got a motion? You need a motion?
Yeah, we need a motion for that.
I'll make a motion, make staff recommendation.
I'll second that.
Been made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
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 Thank you, gentlemen, and I appreciate the additional information.
You bet.
Thank you, members. And I'm going to turn it over to Anna to go over pending rules, proposed rules, where we are on anything new before we conclude our meeting. Thank you.
Good morning. So I want, Oh, kind of went cross-eyed a little bit there because it's like right in front of my face. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a brief update related to rules and then a quick legislative update as well. So this morning we went to the Joint Government Operations Committee related to our rules for public automobile auctions. We received a positive recommendation from both the House and the Senate. So those rules will go into effect next Thursday on March 6th. So those are the rules that are amending the age requirement, reducing the age requirement from 21 to 18, and then clarifying what entity is required to hold the public automobile auction license. Any questions about that? Those, okay. We also have a second package that's pending. Those were related to our retrospective rule review edits. So we will be having a rulemaking hearing in May for those rules. I was unable to get them filed in time for this meeting, but we'll have that in May. And so those rules will probably go into effect at the end of this year, if we're lucky, beginning of next year. So those are the the updates we have related to rules. There are a couple of legislative updates I'd like to provide you. Specifically, I'll just talk about three bills. The first is the bill that runs every year related to the auction that occurs I can't remember where exactly it is at this moment. I'll come back to that in a second. That particular, it's an auction that is exempt from the requirement, and I believe it relates to antique vehicles. But I want to triple check on that. Hold on one second. This one is the one that runs with it runs concurrently with the Motor Vehicle Commission. So the Motor Vehicle Commission took the lead on this particular bill. So, let's see if I can find that. Okay, yes. So it is related to a bill that states that it's relating to an antique or unique auction that is held, I believe, in October every year, where if it's a municipality within a specific amount of population, it says 336,200 and 336,300. They're not required to have a license because the proceeds from that bill are donated to the hospital and neurological institute in that county. So it's a specific auction that takes place every year, and it just runs in a bill. So we had that bill. The second bill that we had is the last two I'll talk to you about are department-wide bills that are going to not only apply to the Auctioneer Commission, but also to some of our several other boards and commissions. So the next one is SB 0226, which is called the Professionals Freedom of Religion Act. So it makes it unlawful for a governmental entity to take any adverse action against an applicant or licensee for religious and faith-based beliefs and convictions or the freedom to exercise that religion as articulated by the Constitution. We don't do that as it is, but it just makes that prohibited and creates a cause of action. So if an individual has that occur, then there are monetary remedies that are available. Even though this one is there's a second part to this bill that relates mostly to the Real Estate Commission, but I do know that some auctioneers have real estate licensees too. It's related to the MLS. And so it states that it's further prohibited to deny access or membership to an MLS or a real estate broker organization based on a person's religious beliefs or moral beliefs. So,
Okay.
and also it states it prohibits a real estate organization from charging a higher fee for individuals that are not a member of that organization for them to have access to the MLS. And so that's going to impact our auctioneers that also have those licenses. Okay, and then the last one, this is a bill that is running. It's going to also apply to certain most of our boards and commissions, but it does relate to this commission. It's HB 1237 and SB 1235. So essentially what this bill does is it removes the requirement in any of the bills, any of the programs attached to this department or governing bodies from allowing certain practices based upon race, color, ethnicity, or national origin. So in our statute, it states that when we appoint individuals to the commission, that we should strive, the governor should strive, because that's the appointing authority, to appoint an individual that's a racial minority and a person that's over 60 years of age. So that bill is going to remove the racial minority requirement from this from our statute. So that these are all pending currently within the legislature. None have passed yet. Are there any questions?
No, I think you cleared it, gave us all the information we need at this point.
Okay, great. And of course, if we have any bills that impact this commission directly that pass prior to our next meeting, even afterwards, we'll send out an update as we do every other year.
Thank you, Anna.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Anna. Members, as we wrap up our new business, there is one item that came up today that I'm just thrilled to present. I think this is a fantastic idea that you as commission members brought up. Today's meeting had to be moved to 10:30. As Anna said, we were over at Cordell Hall looking at our rules being passed, so we had to move it. But I think the time works out really well for all of you as commission members. That way, it could save us on some travel and obviously be respectful of your time as well. So the proposal, when we had a brief conversation, was to move our meetings that are currently on the website scheduled at 9 o'clock to 10:30. I would need a motion and a second to make that change.
Well, I brought it up because I like the idea, and it does save the people from West and East Tennessee from having to come here the night before and spending, several $100s for hotel bills and meals and all that kind of stuff. And so, since we're at a loss right now, this might help a little bit as we work on our budget. So I would like to make that in form of a motion that we adopt 10:30 as our official start time.
I'd like to second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. It's been moved and approved.
Love it. We will definitely appreciate it, and it happened by accident, but
Yeah, Dwayne said he wanted to third that motion. And I'm sure if Larry was here, he'd fourth
Yeah,
it.
absolutely, he would. So we will update the website for the rest of the meetings for this year, and obviously next year will be
Right.
easy to do ahead of time. So
Right.
thank you so much. The next and last order of business that I have before turning it over to our members to see if they have anything is, of course, we open up the floor for anyone participating virtually through Teams or here in person in case they have any questions about what's been discussed, presented, or the agenda. We have no one here in person. Dana or John, is there anyone with their hands raised through Teams that we need to take a moment for?
No, there's nobody on here.
Thank you. Having met that piece, I have nothing else, members. I'll turn it over to you in case.
All right, I hear a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
Been made and seconded. I'll say, want to adjourn, say aye. Aye.
Thank you. I've got 11:01 and we are adjourned, members. Thank you very much.